Welcome to the Black Male Impact. Today we have as guest Mr. Gilroy Brown. Mr. Brown, welcome to the Black Male Impact.
Thank you, Dr. Richard. Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here.
Man, it's a pleasure having you here with all the great work that I've heard that you have done and still doing from some of the past guests, and say Mr. Brown is someone that I need to have on the Black Male Impact. But before we get into the conversation itself, Mr. Brown have served over 40 years in education. He's currently a pastor and an educational consultant. But before we start the conversation, I will ask Mr. Brown to share more about himself so you can get a feel of who he is before we start the conversation today. Mr. Brown, go ahead, please.
All right, well, thank you. My name is Gilroy Brown. I was born 1953 in the UK. Probably, most likely the first Black boy born in the town of Wolverhampton, or the city of Wolverhampton, which is just outside Birmingham in the Midlands in England, born 1953. So all my youth, my school life was spent in the British education system. Became a teacher in 1975, retired just before about 2012. And during that 40 years of education, I spent 10 years as a head teacher of a multicultural inner city primary school. Then became for 10 years, and then I was a school advisor for the local authority for 11 years, specializing in school improvement and leadership. Then I retired roughly in 2012, was an education consultant for a good 6 years, full-time, again, specializing in leadership training, pastoral systems, inclusion, diversity, and the arts was another area. I came out of retirement between 2018 and 2019 to become a principal of an all-age school for young people from 6 to 16, kept it for a year. After leaving that, I went back to being an education consultant, and during that time, I became a pastor, which is another story in itself. Today, I currently do pastoring for most of the time, but I still do work with schools.
Man, thank you. And just listening to you, I can see that you are a man of service. Being an educator in itself is someone of service, because that's not an easy job, but it's a needed job, and one that can help shape the future, of which I know you're doing and still doing and have done for the young people, because that's what most of the past guests have said. You have been an inspiration to them. You have laid the foundation, especially in education, because you inspire them to want to lead with purpose. So it's great to have you here with us today. So I'm going to jump straight into the questions that I have here for you. So I will start with, what is the mindset that it takes to make a positive impact?
The key one is, I think you've got to, the mindset, it's one where you value yourself first and foremost. For me, what drove me was, I was fortunate to have a father who was very sure of himself and very steeped into his history and his culture, as well as his spiritual roots. So at a very early age, myself and my siblings were grounded in knowing who we were spiritually and knowing who we were culturally. My father and my mother took the time to teach us about our roots and to instill in us spiritual values. That helped tremendously, because as when the one grew up then trying to work with who they were, I had a greater sense of who I was before many of my peers.
Okay.
And that's very, very important.
Yeah, I do believe it is important, because if you don't know who you are, the world will try to tell you who you are. Yes. And having that foundation, despite what the world want to say to you, it will not deter you from who you believe you are. And I think that is important, not just to instill in the young people, but it's something that we need to be reminded of as we go on this journey.
Well, very true. I think, you see, the sooner that is instilled in you, particularly if you're blessed to have it instilled in you in your formative years, the more grounded you are, because you're going to be knocked about by winds of change. You're going to be assaulted by all kind of narratives, which will bend you, shake you, but won't break you, and more
Right.
importantly, uproot you. So the sooner you have that belief and that knowledge of who you are, the sooner you can deal with the world out there, which you know from a very early stage will be against you, but you'll be mindful of it, but not intimidated by it. So I was able to grow up through my teenage years, knowing I was dealing with a system that was already set against me, but felt fairly confident in who I was. I was still going to get knocks. I was still
Yeah.
going to get attacked. But I'd be the one who pick myself up to say, yeah, you are worth going into it again. And the prize that you're pursuing is worth pursuing, and nothing should stop you in that.
I think, man, I think that is very, very important. And I think more of our young people need that foundation today because it seems as if the young generation today, they are more guided by social media and
That's
not
right.
the foundation that will help them to do more of what is
Yeah.
possible for them to break the cycle than just continue into this falsification, especially within the Black community. So having
Yeah.
that foundation, both spiritually and culturally, I believe it is important for the young generation so they can be better equipped to deal with some of the challenges that life will put at them.
I think,
So,
Richard,
yes,
if I could just say, I think what's missing is the village. And when you and I were kids of our generation and the one before, there was a village of sorts. You
yeah,
still had that extended Black family that stuck together, that related to each other as a family. Even if the people who you related to weren't blood, they saw you as family.
correct.
Yeah, the church had a stronger position in the Black community in those days. And again, that was a form of village that compensated for what may have been missing in individual homes. So that infrastructure that once kept us together as a community is no longer there in the same way as it was in previous generations.
I think that is important. Yeah, we have to extend support
Yeah,
to those we come in contact with, and that's where mentorship comes in, and
yeah,
why that is important.
absolutely.
So we have to, but it's not as active as it used to be,
That's right.
which I think it is something that needs to be put back into our reactivated,
That's right.
within our community, the importance of having a village. So the person next door can instill or share guidance, with
Yes.
their neighbors, and so they can be the best they can be. That leads me to my next question, and our conversation is going to be mostly around what we can do as Black men and what Black men are doing to make a difference. So my next question to you is, what advice do you have for the Black men listening or men listening on how they can play a role in creating positive change?
Okay. I think first and foremost, men have to realize and recognize that their role is important. And even though, and we know that a situation where we've had many men incarcerated or many men not where they're supposed to be as fathers, that's been around for quite a while, and mothers perhaps have had to compensate and play both mother and father, or some other male relative has had to step in. Men have got to realize their importance, and that men have a particular role to play. The very men themselves, ironically, maybe how they turn out to be is because of that lack of maleness there. So if anything should make them see its importance, it's that. So men have got to see that they have an important role to play. They must also be aware so that there are forces that work against us as men to emasculate us, to marginalize us, to blot us out altogether. And that the thought processes behind those forces are to destroy us in many ways. I don't think I'm being a conspiracy theorist to the extreme of this, but there is something there. So we are going to recognize what's going on and seek then to preserve them what we have. And I think this is where the initiative that you got, where you remind Black men as to who they are, what their responsibilities is good, because it then instills in them a duty of care to look out for others. Those of us who've got the power and recognize it should use it then to either pump up other Black men or equally important, bring up and inspire those young people coming up behind us. So it's important then that men do see their importance. I think also that we need to ensure then that there are good examples all around of Black men who succeed made available for the masses. So again, what you're doing through social media in promoting positive Black male role models, stating and proving that they do exist is very, very powerful. And making Black men see that they do have the potential to be powerful, that they've got power that they're not using. And that to be a successful role model doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be a great academic or a successful entrepreneur or a super rich businessman. I remember Jesse Jackson once saying when he came to the UK some years ago, and I had the privilege of hearing him speak, he said a role model is any successful male within your company who's got their head screwed on, they're ambitious, they're purposeful, and they wish to serve others. That's being a role model. So it could be your dad, it could be Uncle Joe, it could be Mr. Thompson, the plumber who lives on the road there. You know, character. They have character that you admire. And then whatever you achieve out of that will come, but it's a character. And so role models are closer to us than we realize, and we can become that. And again, if you look at success, I saw a wonderful definition of success the other day, which I share with young people and I taught them. Success is you achieving your personal best, not you being like somebody else, but you can take from someone else, a role model, a mentor, and apply that to yourself to make you the best you can be. So it's you achieving your personal best.
I really like that definition of
Yeah.
success. But I'm going to go back to what you shared earlier when it comes to us as Black men playing a role in creating positive change. Because I believe what you shared is really, really important, and that is to see ourselves as important. We have to realize our own importance. We have to realize that we have value. We have to realize that despite what society may have to say, we still have value to contribute, and that is seeing our own importance despite the opinions of others. And also, which as you mentioned, that's what I'm doing, and I believe it is really important, and that is to promote Black role models. And as you mentioned, it doesn't have to be someone in education or with a PhD or higher education. It can be someone who display character, someone who shows up on time, someone who display what it means to work hard. Because everyone will not work in the same areas in life, but character is important despite our roles in life. But I really like what you say about see our role as important. As Black men, if we don't see our role as important, society, can say whatever they want. And as you mentioned, with the emasculation of Black men today, make men feel less than. And we have to be strong within ourselves, so despite the opinions of the world.
Can I also say, return upon that we also have to show that to be a man doesn't mean you have to be aggressive and destructive. Your strength can be in the way in which you hold it down, control that race. That's strength. And if we talk about character, let's have a look at some of the traits then attributed to positive character. You're talking about things like integrity, resilience, dedication, ambition, determination. Those things are values that we should promote more and demonstrate more. And that old saying that says knowledge is power. The more our young people, and even men our age who still have yet to discover themselves, know that there are those people around who are doing great things, the more they'll want they'll see to emulate or be inspired by them. It's because we don't see enough of those characters around to remind us as to who we are, or even to encourage us to be the best that we can be. And I do feel that, and that's why you didn't wait. When you put initiative together, you didn't wait for government funding. You did
No,
it
no.
yourself. You validate you. We have to validate ourselves. I'm very pragmatic. I don't expect this society to love me, to think of me and to care for me. Why should they? You know what I
No.
mean? It's I've got to care about me enough to
Correct.
bother about me.
Correct.
And
Correct. It,
um,
it is important that we see our own value and to
exactly.
validate our own initiatives, our own ideas. Because if we have to wait, that idea may not
Exactly.
become a reality because we are still waiting on someone to say, oh yeah, it's a great idea. Oh, we can't wait. We just
Wait,
have to take action, especially
amen.
when we have this deep conviction
Yeah.
that what we are about to embark on will make a difference. And it's not about changing the world.
No.
It's about whatever we decide to pursue can
Amen.
be to save one person. That person may go on to save the world, but
Amen.
it have to start with you, and maybe you,
Mhm.
it's just one person, and that one
That's all it's
person can go on to save the world. So that is important. But as you mentioned of character, about
yeah.
dedication, reliability, resilience, and the more they see us demonstrating those characteristics, the next generation, even current generation, because I was talking to brother yesterday, and he shared something with me that I didn't know. And being that I'm on this journey and I read a lot and I listen a lot, I still did not know what he shared with me. It wasn't a part of my awareness. And I was like, man, this makes so much sense. So it doesn't matter when
Yes,
where
right.
we
That's
are on our journey. We should
absolutely.
be open enough to learn,
Yeah.
especially when we are about creating change.
And the beautiful thing is now we can control the information we receive now.
Correct.
That's the difference between our generation and the generation before. There's so many avenues open up, so many opportunities. The truth is coming out,
Yeah.
and the truth, as they will set you free. We control the information that we feed to our communities. We do. And those of us who have the power to create platforms and should use it for that purpose, keep spreading the information because it starts in here. The sooner this changes, the sooner everything else does. That positive, the determined mindset. And as you said, yes, many things are coming out now. The truth is coming out. I think we need to talk more, share more. As we discover the truth, share it with others. We have to do that. And that's the one good thing about social media. It can be used to that effect, and we should use it to the max for that. And within a generation, we could change a lot of things
Oh yeah,
if
man.
we use
We can
it.
definitely make a lot of change today. We just have to be intentional and
That's right.
align ourselves with others who realize our power, for one, and that we have the technology to help us to make that change. Because one thing that I've learned while being on this journey, especially talking to young people, they are more likely to become what they see. So it's our responsibility
Absolutely.
to show them what is possible. And that leads me to my next question. How can we, and you may have mentioned some part of this in your response before, but I still want to ask the question. How can we as
Mhm.
Black men help to change the narrative today? And you can speak on any area, but how
Okay.
can we change the narrative today?
There's many ways. I think basically through social media, what you're doing at the moment, you're one of many out there that is beginning to do that to promote the truth, to give voice to Black men, or to give Black men the opportunity to come together and talk. Because the more we talk and the more we can connect, the more we realize what we have in common, we move forward. I think also we need to have more forums where Black men talk about the issues as we do here, but at the same time, let's talk about solutions. Thirdly, I think there's a lot of good work being done by successful Black men out there,
Yeah.
but it's not given the exposure. We owe it to ourselves to seek those success stories out and to share them. I remember years ago, Ebony magazine, back in the 60s when I used to start with the Ebony, used to have a section called People. And they used to scour the country looking for Black people who had broken barriers, made great strides in business, education, politics, and share it with the vast population. So, oh, there's a Black tech millionaire over there. There's somebody who's a neuroscientist in a university in New England or something, or in the Caribbean. There's a hotel chain set up by the people who belong to the island. That type of thing. You know, all those amazing things that we can only dream of are actually happening. We need to find them out and to share these success stories. And what that then shows that we're more powerful and more successful than we realize. And it might just be that little thing that somebody else needs to know to take that one further step to make their dream a reality. You know, I think Black churches have got a lot to play here too.
Yeah.
Black churches historically, both especially in the US and in South Africa, have been vehicles for social change in terms of civil rights, anti-apartheid. The Black church still has got a power that has not been used yet fully to achieve social change and to break down barriers and to retain what we have and to even set up our own infrastructure to preserve what we have. So it's all of those things. And again, I think holding forums where Black couples can talk about what it means. You know the isms between Black men and Black women. It's so sad that these things, but we need to honestly address these issues here. And again, certain podcasts are doing it, but we need to have more of it. We need to talk more, not be afraid to talk. I am heartened, I might say though, by some things I've actually seen on LinkedIn and on Facebook now, where people are dared to talk about the issues that we consider to be taboo, about the issues are the issues we felt we could never solve, only because we never talked about them.
Correct.
We need to talk more, share more, and I think that's the way forward.
Yeah, and you share some valuable points when it comes to change the narrative from us talking and sharing, what we learn and what we have experienced. But there are two things that you have shared that I believe, well, more than two that I think needs to be stressed a little bit more, and that is the Black church involvement in social change and
Absolutely.
us covering the success, especially of Black men. Because there are Black men out there who have achieved great success and no one knows about them. And I think once we become aware of what other Black men are doing and what they have accomplished, it will give us hope. It will give us the motivation. It will encourage us to say, you know what, this is possible. And also what you mentioned, the relationship with Black couples, I believe the man and woman needs to share their success and their challenges. What makes the relationship work? Because we know that family is a big thing within our community. And if family will play a critical role in changing the narrative. And, as you mentioned earlier, where some of the homes are broken, where most of the kids are not most, I don't know, but a lot of the kids grow up in homes where they only have their moms. So if there are relationships out there that are working, hearing about, what make the relationship work also will help to change the narrative. Although there are successful relationships that haven't been talked about. And that's why having those relationships are covered, within our community. And so these are what makes the relationship work. I think, as you touch on those points.
Richard, if I just, as you're talking, I think I want to highlight some specific things as well, because as you said before, we need to talk about, so what practical things can be done? We know what we need. And I think the more we share the practical things that can be done with each other, the sooner we'll create change, because you'll see a tangible difference being made in people's lives. Because we can talk, but at the same time, it's got to lead to action. I mean, I'm currently trying, and I'm not saying I'm the only person who's doing this, but it's good to share these things. I'm trying to set up a Young Leaders Academy. And the strap line is to engage, equip and empower young people to become confident, productive citizens. Now, I say that because many of our youth, right, unless they've gone into education, many are marginalized out there, no hope, whatever. We've got to make sure that we are no further marginalized than we are as a community. So I'm looking at ways with a few other people. So how best can we get young people to even take an interest in local politics and seek to become councillors? Now, in the UK, in the city of Wolverhampton, we recently had a Black African Caribbean mayor, and she was fantastic. She was really grassroots, down with the community and everything. And we were able to take some young people to visit her in her office and to find out more about the day-to-day runnings of the mayor's office, why it is that she had aspirations to go into local politics. And she talked about the need to be part of the change that she wanted to see. And those young people so inspired by what they heard and what they saw. Many of them went away, I know, feeling, something, I want to make a difference in the system by following that route. I mean, that's the reason I went into teaching, because I felt I need to get back in the system to try and change it, or at least make it work for those who I come into contact with. There's another group called Black Men Teach, and Gervais Welters, who you spoke to, he's part of this group of black male teachers who said, something? There's too few of us in the profession. Worse still, there's too few of us staying in the profession. We've got to make a concerted effort to, one, recruit more black men into teaching, keep those who are in, and then use the expertise we have, plus my own, to encourage those to stay and to move up the ranks.
Correct.
And where the system is not going to help them, we can do mentoring. I'm setting up a Black Teachers Network in our church organization to do just that, because the system is not helping our Black professionals. So if I know that, I'm going to do something then, based on what my experience, to help them, instill that determination in them, that belief that they are good enough, and not to fall of gaslighting and all the other tricks that they use to make us doubt ourselves. So stick with it and to get there. No, that's what we need.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like no, so just two initiatives that I know of that I'm part of that's seeking to make a difference. So there's others out there, I'm sure, who you've spoken to doing those things. And we need to share those practical solutions that are already working so that they can be replicated, and people can link up across the country, across continents, and we empower ourselves internationally.
I think that's important, because again, we can learn from each other. And sometimes we are saying, maybe thinking that others should see what we see, but maybe they don't see, because a lot of people are blind to what needs to change, especially when it comes to our community. So
That's
being
right.
that we see it, we have to take that initiative to make sure we make those changes. And I like the idea of practical solutions, and practical solutions that work. If it works, let's duplicate what's working and see how we can make more change in our communities. And I like what you state about Black Men Teach, about recruiting more Black men and empower those Black men and encourage those Black men to stay within the profession, because I've read research that stated that a Black man in the classroom don't only impact Black male students positively, they impact all students.
All students. I've proven it.
All students.
White colleagues too.
And
White colleagues as well, yeah.
Correct. Because there is a misconception when it comes to Black men. And we have Black men in the profession who are showing up with character, man, that changed how people have been perceiving Black men. So having Black men in those professions is important, especially in education, which we need more Black men. I know you have spent over 40 years in education, and you're still educating people today, even though you're not inside the classroom. So my question to you is, what has influenced or inspired you to pursue the path that you have been on, to be an educator? because you're still an educator today, even
Yes.
though you're not in the educational system. But,
Directly, yeah.
yes.
What is interesting because I decided to become a teacher when I was doing my A levels. I was about 18, 19. Partly because I remember how we were treated as Black students in secondary school back in the 60s, because I went to secondary school from 1965 to 1970, then in my A levels 1970. I was still aware of how we were treated, how the low teacher expectations, or some of the teachers were blatantly racist with some of my friends, some of my peers. And I thought coming out, I thought, you know something, we've got to get in the system to help change the system. And the funny thing was, I think I knew one Black teacher at the time, and he talked about obviously the challenge that he faced, but was more motivated by the fact that a change has got to be made. Now, I told you before that my upbringing, I was already taught about my roots and who I was. So by age 17, 18, I was radical anyway, where I saw, you know, that for me, I was going to be part of the change. And it was around about the time of 1969, 1970. So Martin Luther King had been assassinated in 68. Black power was rising in the States and in Britain. The Black Panthers were prominent. So I grew up in those times. So I was, you know, and then I mixed with a lot of people who were very radical, bordering on to militant, but I never went to that stage because I still felt that, yeah, for me, it wasn't about burning down Babylon. It was about changing Babylon type of thing there. But I recognize at the same time, you're going to have people who, like James Baldwin says, fire next time. You know, I can understand that because such was the rage and such was the passion. It still is to this day. So I thought of becoming a teacher out of a sense of duty and this desire to change. Because for me, I felt that, you know, it's not just what I want as a profession. I have a role to play in the struggle, and that's it, right? So it was a duty, and yeah, and I still feel that to this day it's a calling, and I felt that, you know, that, if I can help, as you said before, if even one person to escape the barriers and to get through, then I've done my job. It's about service, and you know, and it's about being part of the community, to help the community move forward as a collective, and that's it. You don't think of self. Of course, I have my ambitions, yes, my
Yeah, yeah.
aspirations, but I'm driven more by the cause. I wanted to see our people be free, and again with teaching, and for me, I didn't go into the profession to prop up the status quo.
Yeah.
I went to the profession to change things. You know, they talk about we have to fix a broken system. Well, I want to break a system that's fixed. And I make no apology for it because that system is unfair and that system is unjust and that system is morally bankrupt. So I have every right to challenge it, speak truth to power, and so forth. Those who went before me who had to deal with much more had to stand up and sacrifice for me. The least I owe it to them to do my part and for the others coming. And it's not because I see myself as the only person who's a hero. There's many people out there, but it's finding people of like mind to work with as well and say, you know something now, we can make a change in this generation here, no matter how small, it will be
Right.
significant.
Man, you shared a whole lot of valuable points, but I really love this statement that you just made. Break a system that is fixed.
Yeah,
That is
and
really powerful.
I wish I could claim that as my own. I read that somewhere and I thought that is exactly how I feel. Break a system that is fixed. God didn't create that system, man did, so man can change it. Right?
Man,
And that's okay.
that
Yeah,
is really powerful,
yeah.
because we are all in this system, especially for us as Black people, where it has been socially engineered for us to think a certain way, for us to
Right.
act a certain way. And there are barriers in certain places that we are not easily have access to.
That's right.
And to get access to those places, we have to break that system that is fixed.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Man, that is so
Yeah.
powerful. That put everything that you have shared in context. from being that person who wants to create change, because that is important. Being that person who wants to create change, break a system that is fixed, really put what you have just shared in context.
Amen.
Because if we are going to change, we have to challenge what's there so something new can be.
You probably know of Rosemary Campbell Stevens. She often talks about a new paradigm. It's a new paradigm. It's real, whatever the thought processes and the cultures that created the world system as we know it, a system there, wasn't created by us, for us. So if we are to survive, then we've got to, on one end, challenge, and at the other end, change. We have to do it. We cannot sit still and be treated this way when it is fundamentally wrong. And we're not talking about taking over and turning other races into our subjects. We're talking about equality. And I'm sorry, but if you're treading on my toe and I can't even be allowed to say, ouch, I'm sorry. I'm not, my father used to say to me, Gil, society is like a house. Our foreparents built the foundations of that house. We must have a room in that house. Right. I'm not even asking to take it over, but I want a room with the same privileges as everybody else who's resident in that house. Don't give me a house on the garden. Don't give me a tree house. Don't give me a greenhouse. I want a room in that house. That's what I want. I demand it because I helped build it. My forebears helped build this house. And that's it. And therefore, so until my last breath, I'm going to continue to demand my right to be in that house. Once I'm in it, you're not going to move me from it either. That's it.
And that's the type of mindset we have to have. And just listening to you, wanting your space within the house, being a person of service, knowing others will get the same opportunity because you get to get your room or your house, not separated, but as that's equal as everyone else. So that is important. But this saying gonna stay with me for a while. Break a system that is fixed. I believe that is a good reminder for those who want to create change. Because that's what it boils down to.
I wish I could remember the person's name who said it, because obviously I'd give them credit for it, because it was the other part of a statement that said, instead of fixing a system that is broken, we need to break a system that is fixed. Because if you repair the system that's broken, you're creating the same old. That needs to change. You know what I mean? It needs to change. Root and branch change, and there was never good old days for us. Correct. So I'm not interested in fixing things back to where they were. Make America great again. You may make America hate again. You know what I mean? No.
You got to break the system that is fixed. Because you're right. Going back to where, for us, where we have been subjected to a lot of ill treatment. So we can't, as Black people, we can't go back to that which not going to treat us fairly.
That's right.
We want something better. We want the same opportunity. Not just for us, but the next generation shouldn't be dealing with some of the same challenges that we're dealing with today. We want better. We want, to have access to the same opportunity so we can become the best of ourselves. And I strongly believe that human beings are the most valuable asset. And if we can become our best self, everywhere gets better. The community gets better. The world gets better.
Can I just say to Dr. Richard, I mean, we don't, as Black people, we don't want to be talking about race all the time. Correct. I'd like not to talk about this. But until the powers that be stop making race a determinant factor of me, I'm going to talk about race. I'd like to be the first person not to mention Black, because I'm a human being who happens to be Black. Whilst you exclude me, I have to use Black on top of everything. This, Black, that, the other. You don't like it, then change the system from the base, and then we can all just be ordinary human beings, and that's it. Yeah. I remember speaking to a group of white teachers some years ago, good people to listen. I said, look, I'm not going to stop talking about race so that you can sleep better at night. when I have to live it every day. So let's each do each other a favor. Let's just call it what it is, deal with it there and then. Somebody once said that for every black man that's in the gutter, a white man has to be down there, keeping him there. So nobody's free. You know what I mean? You're going to be down there to keep, nobody's free.
Yeah.
It might sound rather oversimplistic, but it's the truth. Nobody's
Oh yeah,
free.
man. So the reason why it's not lack of ambition, it's not lack of talent, it's just the system at times, because there are black
Sure.
people, black men, black women with ambition and still don't get the chance to come out of their situation. So you're right. There has to be something that's preventing some from not coming up out of the trenches.
Exactly.
So, man, and that's a conversation that we could talk about forever. But I'm going to go into my next question, because you have covered a lot. The people that influence you and why you choose the path that you're on is really profound. So I'm going to go into my next question. What is your perspective on the current climate of Black men in society today? I know you have shared about what the Black teacher is doing, the organization, but what is your perspective on the current climate?
Okay, it's a mixed one, but I would say there's more to the positive. I mean, there are some amazing things happening out there for black men, by black men at the moment. I mean, if you look at it in terms of in terms of the media, we got some iconic black male figures in the industry, your Denzel Washingtons, your Idris Elbas, etc. And they do have an impact on the black male psyche and so forth, which is great. Equally, or sadly, we've also got some negative male role models as well out there with people there too. So I don't know if it's my age, but some people would rather emulate the rapper with his trousers halfway down, than say somebody smartly dressed in a suit, and they may assume, well, he's probably trying to emulate whiteness, whatever. Those type of things there. But we've got some positive black male role models right across the board in popular culture and in politics that we can aspire to know. I want to see more of those coming up there. I think I do feel the Tyler Perrys and the Spike Lees, I've got a great responsibility to put out material that is positive, self-affirming, and challenges stereotypes. That needs to happen. Within my own social setting, I'm glad that I've got black male friends who are positive, head screwed on, and determined. That gives me hope. And I think there's a lot more going for us than not. But society or the media is not going to promote it because it doesn't serve their interest. So we've got to do it. Yeah. And I'm seeing some I'll tell you something, I'm doing some work in schools at the moment here. And I'm seeing some young black boys. I mean, they got their head screwed on. I met 3 guys the other day. They're year 11, so they'll be 16. And one wants to be an electrician, one wants to be a plumber, one wants to be a footballer. None of them thought about being a singer, rapper, sports star. Not saying that, of course, if you excel at those, by all means, but these are guys who just saying they want to trade.
Right.
They want to trade. And they didn't think it's strange that, or they didn't feel it's not glamorous enough. They want to work and they want to earn and they want to make it in life. And these are guys, they got street cred. You look at them. I was just so pleased. I mean, I even saw 3 of them today. I'm walking to the city center. I said, keep up doing what you're doing. And even little words like that, I think we as the elders need to tell them, look, hey, you're on the right track, keep going, rather than, what are you guys doing, hanging around, walking around? Sometimes they can be dismissed because they're just hanging out with each other. Yeah. But these guys, they look like any other youth on the street, but I know they've got their head screwed on. And just to tell him that, look, hey, we'll see you in September, keep up the good work, the smile on their faces, you left them with something positive they could take away with them, that affirmation. So I would say that I think the real picture is I think we've got more positive, good people out there than we realize.
Correct.
We need to recognize who they are, beat them up, and at the same time, exchange positive words to other young people coming up to let them know that you do believe in them and that you see hope in them. And that's what we have to do. Just the power of the words is very, very important.
Oh yeah, we have to speak life into
Speak life.
into the young generation. We can't be talking down to them.
No, that's
We
right.
have to lift them up. But as you shared, there are many Black men out there who are doing great work. And I will
Yes,
also agree with you where the media giants, as you mentioned, Spike Lee and Tyler
yeah,
Perry, they needs to, I can't tell them what to do, but with their position, putting out positive, self-affirming images of
absolutely.
Black people will do us justice, will help us to change our perception of self, and will also
Mhm.
help us to
It-
believe we have what it takes to do great things. And I think they are in positions to create help change that narrative of self, because self and
Absolutely.
identity plays a critical role
Yeah.
in how we show up in society.
That's which I'll just say. I mean, yeah, I'm not saying that Tyler and Spike and those people aren't doing stuff.
No,
Because
no,
I
no, no.
don't.
I understand. I'm just saying, yeah.
Well, I think a lot more could be done with what they've got, plus the networking that they could create. They could create this powerful infrastructure that no one could penetrate, that they're in total control of, and they could right across the globe transform thinking. Look at the power of Black Panther, that film. Look what it did culturally, psychologically to communities right across the world.
Correct, correct. Oh, yeah.
And we're still feeling the impact of it now. I'm seeing so many people embrace their Blackness in such a wonderful way. Black women who are queens anyway. I'm not saying that other women aren't of other races, but
Yeah.
Black women are wow, the pride you see them walk with. I know, yeah, it's the visuals is the optics is very, very important,
Yeah.
right? Let's
Yeah.
embrace our Blackness and naturalness. And I'm not being exclusive, I'm not being racist, not that at all.
We need to hear that
Yeah.
affirmation
Affirm,
to how we have been beaten by
yes,
society. We can't affirm each other enough
that's right.
to the challenges that we had dealt with, because we are still dealing with the trauma of the past.
That's
So
right.
affirming each other, I don't think we can say enough of it. It is so needed. We need to hear it in the morning, in the afternoon, in the night,
Absolutely.
and it's go right
Absolutely.
around the cycle. And because for us to break the cycle, we have to reaffirm our best self. And
Yeah.
once we reaffirm and affirm who we are, the barriers will not hold us back, which
Amen.
will make things better for the next generation. So, man, it's
And a
important.
better world. And a better world overall.
Correct.
That's all it is, greater harmony
Yeah.
and more
Oh, yeah,
peace. Yeah.
that's key right there. A better
Yeah.
world. So as you mentioned, yeah, there are positive and negatives when it comes to us as Black men.
Yeah.
But as you mentioned, there are a lot more positive that sometimes get overlooked.
Yes.
So we have to start searching for the positive so we can actually share it with
Yeah.
the world. So, and that leads me, and which kind of ties to my next question. What
Mhm.
change do you want to see in general amongst Black men?
Well, I think we've covered it a lot there, but I think in a nutshell, I want to the just want to see Black men is Black men uh, obviously believing in themselves more, but also seeking to big up other Black men. Let's compliment each other, encourage each other, support each other, and support the effort that others make. Because we've all got different strengths, we move at different speeds, and so forth. But if I think kind words, you said it before, it's a power of words. Just, for example, walking on the street now, there's guys of a certain age, you pass your nod at each other. Now, when we're younger, we used to do that quite a lot. That's happening still now, thank God. I hope we don't do that, but just that knowledge. Or sometimes you see some guys that go like that,
Yeah.
we do that. And I think that's important, that silent language, that language of affirmation, that language of, I got you, I'm with you. And yeah, it's good. Little things like that is very, very important. I think we've got to focus on our young men. Well, if your own sons or your nephews or your son's friends, be there for them, you know, be available to talk with them and to answer their questions if they want to, if they want us, because after all, they're only going to learn, they have to learn it from us. If they go there to learn life for themselves, then that's where the mistakes are being made. Be somebody's mentor somewhere.
Correct.
Every black man should be able to say, yeah, I know one or two young guys who I am the go-to if they need to talk to me, or I can talk to them about something. That's how it should be, duty of care. That's not getting into other people's business. It's just duty of care,
Correct. We have an obligation, and
Yes,
extending our obligation comes with providing mentorship and providing that listening ear, because there are things that we learn by making mistakes
that's right.
that we should help them not to make. And so we have that obligation to help the next generation. I think that
Yes.
is important. So that leads me to my next question, which kind of shifting gear a little bit.
Yeah.
What was a pivotal moment in your life?
In regards to,
Well, I know you were of the time when change needs to happen. And even on your journey in the education system in England,
okay,
or any other
okay,
encounter that you have that really gave you perspective or have you thinking a certain way and say, you know what, just as how
okay.
that saying helped you to say, you know what, I'm going to be the change.
Okay, so I'm going to rush through a few here. Obviously, there's many, but key ones. Ooh, I remember in 1968, the Mexico Olympics, Tommy Smith, John Carlos, two African American 100-meter runners broke world records and were awarded gold and silver respectively. And when they played the national anthem, American national anthem, they stood up and raised their fists. If you remember, iconic picture, and it was world news. And it was the first time that that the black struggle in America was in. It was a platform for them to vocalize and emphasize how they felt about America, putting America on the spotlight. That had a great impression because I thought they were fearless and they just stood there and they told it like it was. I mean, they suffered professionally, as you know, but
Mhm.
they've got history as being game changers at that particular time. About 1970, just as I was about to leave school, I'm in the last year at school, and we had to have appointments with our careers teacher. And we had to meet, we were given that particular time to meet our careers teacher, who would then give us advice as to where we go from here after you take exams, that college or that profession, whatever. And I do remember I'd arrived about 5 minutes early before my appointment was due, and the office door was open, and I could hear the careers teachers or a white teacher speaking to my friend, the black boy, before me, and I could hear him, and he was saying, "You know, you only come to our country to take our jobs and to take our this and to take our that and so forth, don't you? You realize that, don't you? Don't you?"
Wow.
Now, this is a man in his 50s berating a 15-year-old black boy. And all I could hear my friend was saying, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir." And as he came through the door, he looked at me as if to say, "Gosh, heaven help you when you go inside there." And so I went in, and the teacher says, "All right, Brown, I heard that you want to go to college. Why?" So I said, "Well, because my mother wants me to go to college." She said, "Yeah, but why not college? Why don't you could take this job, that job, the other." And he was pointing me to various factories. All right, granted, I think they were like apprenticeships, so I have nothing against that. But the fact that he didn't want to respect my choice
Right.
and the fact that I wanted to do something academic. And when I said, "Well, that's what my mother says, and that's what I want to do." So he says, "Okay, here, take this and have a look at it and come back when you've made your mind up." And that was it.
Wow.
So I thought, hey, right. I remember when I just started teaching, I was looking through this book. I was in the staff room, and there was one of three black teachers were there, but I was the only one in the room at the time. I'm looking through this book called Great Negroes, Past and Present, very seminal book. I forgot who the author is. And I was looking for a character to talk about when for my assembly with the kids, because I talked about Two Cent Overture, Marcus Garvey in the time. So I thought I'm going to try and find another person. So I'm looking at the book, and I'm looking rather pensive, thinking, look at that. And a white friend of mine, quite innocent, he said, "Gil, You okay? I said, yeah, I'm just thinking. She said, oh, so I'm trying to find somebody here to a figure here to focus on. The person said, it must be difficult because they haven't done anything, have they? No, I didn't ask her opinion. I'm looking at the book, Great Negroes, Past and Present. I'm a black person. She said, it must be difficult for you to find somebody from the book because they haven't done anything, have they? Where did that come from? You know?
Wow.
So I thought, well, I forgave her. I've thought, but and through the months, I re-educated her, so to speak.
Right.
But I had to remember I'm a professional, can't lash out. But look at that. And that's somebody teaching our children.
Wow.
Uh, about 8 years later, I just finished so I applied for deputy headship of a school. And you interviewed, you're taken through the different rounds, etc. Very rigorous process it was. And I got the job. And I remember this is what the head teacher who wanted me for the job said. He said that when the panel were deliberating, there was a counselor, because in those days you had somebody from the city council be on the board, said to him, oh, so you've chosen Gilroy, have you? And the head teacher said, oh, yes, because he ticked all the boxes. Remember, we've done the scores and he's beaten everybody else. And the counselor said to him, yeah, but you're taking a risk, aren't you? So he says, well, why? I mean, it's on paper, he's answered all the questions, given perfect examples, shown that he's got the ability to do that. And the person, yeah, but I still think you're taking a risk. Now, the head teacher couldn't pin him down, but what was coming out of it was he couldn't get used to the fact that a young black man was going to be in a position of power.
Right.
And had the head teacher, who I have the utmost respect for as a white person, and I want to talk about white allies, the importance of having white allies. If had that, he could have so easily buckled under the pressure that he, oh gosh, well, okay, then I don't upset the apple cart here. I'll make up something and tell Gilroy I didn't get it. He stood by the decision and said, look, this person has proven himself unequivocally. He should be the person for the job. But it's things like that, these are seminal moments for me.
Man, you
It's a
have
few.
shared some really powerful, pivotal moments. And I believe being that the type of person you are, and what I've heard, the work that you have been doing and
Yeah,
have done, I can see where, those experiences can really help to strengthen you as a person,
that's right.
so you can go and make a difference. And because even hearing your friend in there, being told, what are you
Yeah,
coming here to do is to take my job. And even for yourself, being told that going to college should not be your option. Why are you going down that path? And if you weren't strong enough, but it goes back to your foundation of being
that's
spiritually
right.
and culturally sound,
Grow.
because
That's
people can get you off track by the things they say to you. Because if they tell you that you're not good enough and then you internalize it and believe it, you may start to believe, you know what, maybe I shouldn't be going to no college. Maybe I should be doing what they're telling me to do. And that's happening today because you still have
that's
young
right.
people in today, 2024, that still thinking that because a teacher told them that they're not college material, they're not college
That's
material
right.
because they don't believe they're college material because their teacher told them that they're not college material. But also, and just the example that you shared with the book, Great Negroes Past and Present, for the teacher to have the audacity to
That's right.
say, we haven't done enough. And there are so many Black people who have done great work, which we are still learning about today because they all weren't put in the history books. So we
That's
are
right.
learning about Black men today that have done great work a long time ago, that have created foundations for many people, not just us, for many people.
That's
They have created, they have inventions that benefited the world, and sometimes not even
the whole
us,
world.
whole world. And
That's right.
but you know what? Maybe she herself did not know because they didn't put it in the book. So she
That's right.
may thinking that what maybe they didn't, but it's a good thing. And sometimes we have these experiences, as you mentioned, to re-educate
That's right.
the miseducated, because sometimes we as individuals have to do that. It's not to say it's our responsibility, but sometimes it is our responsibility because we're going to come across people who are ignorant of what
Right.
we have accomplished, and we have to educate them. And yeah, educate, because it's not re-educate, because they didn't know. So it's to educate them on what we have accomplished. So I really appreciate you sharing those pivotal moments, because we still do have similar challenges today, although that was in the past, which leads me to my next question. With those powerful pivotal moments, what life lesson have you learned late in life that you believe is important and can benefit this current generation?
Interesting. Okay. Well, my parents, my mother in particular, typical Caribbean woman who proverbs and sayings,
Yeah.
that grew up on those. As I'm sure you did, Richard,
Oh, yeah.
yourself. My mom would say things like, you have to take time, draw your hand out a lion mouth, shortcut, draw blood,
Yeah.
something like that. All right. Just a few, as well as scriptural sayings as well. And you know, and that did help me in life, but some things I didn't appreciate until later on in life. But a few things that I can best sum it up in sayings. I remember going through a rough period about just under 30 years ago, and I remember reading a saying that said, a gem is not polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trial. And what his mother saying was that pain is necessary. There's a purpose to pain, there's a purpose to suffering, because it does develop character. And if you look at the biblical examples, Joseph from the pit to the palace, Job through his suffering, and then he realized at the end of the day that God had a purpose for it, even though it's beyond his comprehension, purpose to it. It made me then make sense of times when I was going through valleys and wildernesses, that there is a divine plan to this. Okay, there's another saying, I believe it's been attributed to Lena Horne, from what I heard, and that is, it's not the weight that you carry that kills you, it's the way that you carry it. So again, it's looking at making the best of what you've got and using it to your advantage to improve, who you are, so to speak. And it's so important, I think, in life general, because life is not a bed of roses. And even more important for us as people of color, who have always been marginalized, oppressed, put through the mill, but we still overcame regardless. So it's sort type of things. And I pass those sayings on to my own children as well, and
And
it's, we've got to have that. Gotta have that.
those, as you say, proverbs really will prevent you from, it's like, what I would say, prevent you from the pitfalls that life
Yes,
sometimes present us.
that's right.
So it's to, be aware of the things
Yes,
that are out there. And once you are aware, it can save you or save your life. So those things are important. And,
There's just
most
something
of
that, if I may, yeah, and the thing is, you never stop learning. So I'm at an age where I'm still learning,
correct,
and learning is refinement. It's you improving on your previous best to be the best that you can be. So it's good to have that kind of mindset. You're still open to learn, and it's said somewhere that a wise man seeks counsel. So the wise are always learning, and that's why
correct.
again we're learning. Yeah.
Oh yeah, man, and that's one of the things that I'm finding, having these conversations, there are insights, perspective, and knowledge that shared during the conversations that I'm benefiting from tremendously, because one, most of a lot of the things that we need to learn, we're not going to find it in the book, but we can get it from someone else's experience.
Very true. Very true.
So having these conversations, someone may share something from their own experience that is beneficial to myself and to the listeners. So we have to be open to the information and to what others have to share. So that is important. But you have shared some important reminders are what is beneficial to this current generation, and is to take the lessons that the older generation shares with them and use them as tools to use to navigate their life, because the journey sometimes get tough. As you mentioned, there's a purpose for the pain, so the struggle serving a purpose. We just have to realize that, oh, the pain, the struggle is not there to stop us, but to help to build character, as you mentioned, as we go forward on our journey. Which leads me to, before I even ask my final question, please, where can the listeners find you and help support you and the great work that you're doing to make a difference?
Okay, well, I'm on LinkedIn.
Okay.
My profile is there, and I do from time to time put things on LinkedIn, obviously on Facebook as well. I've had a book published just about 9 months ago called Redeemed, and it's available on Amazon, which tells my story. It charts my spiritual and professional journey over the years, the lessons that God taught me along the way, and how I've gotten to where I am now. It covers a lot of the professional, but a lot of the personal stuff as well. And in the personal, it's about how I found my way back to God. I'm a pastor's son, so of course, as a pastor's son, you grow up in a particular home, a particular environment. You're the center of so much attention within the community that creates no end of pressures upon you. You know, you try to be ordinary, but you can't because of the position of your parents. I rebelled against that, left, went out on my own journey of self-discovery, and then came back to Christ 17 years ago. But during that time, I was always this. Mr. Suited and Booted, inspired so many people, helped so many people. But inside, my own life was a mess until I had to turn to God. The rest is in the story. But
okay. All right, man. Well, you know what? I'm glad that you share your book or your journey. But could you hold the book up again for those people who didn't get to see it?
Yes, it is. And it's available on Amazon.
Okay. Yes, I'll definitely put it in the description. So those who want to get a copy and support you and your work, I know they will learn a lot from what you have shared. So thanks for the work that you are doing and have done. I know a lot of people have benefited from your commitment to service. But before we go today, my final question to you is, what impact do you want to have on the world?
Wow, good question. I mean, I think we're all here born for a purpose. And my father used to say, son, you only pass this way once. Make sure that you leave your footprints in the sands of time. And I think it comes from a famous poem somewhere, footprints in the sands of time. So I'd like to think that once I'm gone, I'm not forgotten, and that I've empowered people to believe in the power that is within them. And I do believe that's the purpose of our existence, to touch each other's lives and to spread that power. Yeah, that's it, you know.
Man, man, that's great. But I like that quote, leave your footprint in the sands of time. And I think we all should aspire to make a difference. Again, it may not be 1 million people or the world, but it could be one person that later inspired the world. So it's important that we do. Mr. Brown, man,
yes,
it was a pleasure, having the conversation here with you today. Man, you have covered so much, and I know the listeners will appreciate what you have shared today. So I want to say, man, thank you for being here on the Black Male Impact.
Amen. And Dr. Richard, if I can thank you as well for giving me the opportunity to come on to this platform and for the opportunity to share my thoughts with you and to hear you too. It's so good to speak to someone else on the same page. And the work that you are doing is amazing work, great work. You know, you're spreading the word, you're using the power of the word to empower our men. So I salute you and I support you and I thank you. God bless you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate the kind words. Sometimes that's what we need to continue to press forward, just being acknowledged, although we're not doing it just to be acknowledged, but we're human beings, and we always need a little bit of encouragement as we press forward on our own journey. So I want to say thank you. And listeners, as always, the goal is to bring guests that we believe will share insights, perspective, and valuable knowledge that can be used immediately and that we all can benefit from as we continue on this journey. The Black Male Impact is where positive changes are inspired, and I hope you're inspired today. Continue to give us your support as we continue to make a difference in the world. Thank you.